I mean, like Star Wars, right? Like I'm such a huge Star Wars fan. And
I'm so sorry.
I know, right? I'm sorry for your loss.
The woke culture that destroyed Star Wars just... I could never get over The Last Jedi. I'm on that side. I haven't watched it since it came out. The night I watched that and all the woke culture, I'm just like, why? Star Wars isn't about woke culture. Star Wars is about family, drama, things going on. Luke had daddy issues. Anakin, good versus evil. Leia, she kissed her brother. I guess weird. People could relate to that, I guess. But what about this weird woke stuff that's all of a sudden, I'm like, why did you do this to Star Wars? Sometimes I cry. I'm just kidding.
I don't.
But I really was pissed.
I don't think The Last Jedi got super woke. A lot of people say that. I'm like, sure, they had...
Dude, with the purple hair.
Yeah, but that's
dude,
one lady, man.
Dude.
Admiral Gender Studies.
All over the place. Like, women were dominating. They had Poe look like a moron. You know,
it was weird.
It was weird, bro. And it just wasn't good. Like, they demeaned all the men. Luke Skywalker was just a nobody.
Look at we've talked about this a million times back when pop culture still existed.
Mm-hmm.
Now everything's just, Antifa and Trump. But
let's talk pop culture, dude. Everything's invaded right now. Everything.
So a really good example of what counters the Last Jedi is Wonder Woman. Mm-hmm. In Wonder Woman, the men were badass, and so was she, and so were the Amazons. Mm-hmm. It was a bunch of heroic people of all different types.
Yep.
That's all that mattered. Mm-hmm. And then you look at...
And it was a good movie.
It was.
Like John Boyega, he complains, I think my character wasn't that well because, I'm black, right? I'm like, no, it's because it's because the screenwriters suck. It's because the movie, the story just was not great. It wasn't good. It's not because the color of your skin.
Don't take it personal,
dude. I got to tell you, man, I've watched a bunch of movies where I'm just like, I don't understand why this is the direction they went in. So I just watched the new Bill and Ted. Mm-hmm. Have you seen the new Bill and Ted?
Not yet.
And I'm kind of like, they almost got me mad. So I can't spoil the movie because I did like it.
Spoiler alert.
And Keanu Reeves is awesome.
He's always awesome.
And it was Bill and Ted 3, and it was funny.
Yeah.
I don't think it was as good as the first two because I think it was like a nostalgia thing. I don't want to spoil it, but they do dive into SJW. I can't say what it is because the movie just came out. But they it looks like they're nose diving, and I'm like, you can't be serious. And they pull it back, and I'm like, all right, that's okay, I guess. Because I'll just put it this way, it almost negates, like, retcons the original movies.
Yeah.
Bill, you're familiar with it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they added a change, and I'm just like, don't you do it, don't you? They kind of did it.
And I think millennials will relate to this. It's like, we love authentic things. I just love anything that's authentic. If it's handmade, whatever. If it's made digitally, but you made it, like, I love it. And it's like, the stories nowadays, they're not authentic. They're engineered. Even George Lucas hit on this. Like, all of the stories, all Hollywood, everything's engineered. It's pre-planned just for ratings, just for the box office. How much money is it going to make? We make decisions based off of money. And that's what happened to Star Wars. And it's like, why can't I just have an authentic, amazing story that uplifts my soul and doesn't make me feel bad for not being woke enough? Like, it's like this always.
Hey.
I'm being guilt tripped always in every movie, every TV, every podcast, everything that's in woke culture. It's like, you're not woke enough, so you need to be more woke. And if you're not going to be woke enough, then you're a racist. And it's like, why is that our media now? Why is that Hollywood?
That's cultural Antifa. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Cultural Marxism.
So, I mean, I don't want to call it that. Mm-hmm. What is that school of thought that talks about it's the something school? I don't remember. I look at this as you've got the physical and the more abstract. Mm-hmm. In the physical world, you have far leftists going around burning things down, destroying things, screaming, and they're like Commander Red falling into the fetal position.
Frankfurt School.
Sorry,
you put me on the spot there. I forgot what state it was.
And then you have in the cultural spaces, they're burning down and destroying cultural institutions and icons and our social norms. I look at the example at my go-to. I think I already referenced it earlier. Is Into the Spider-Verse. Mm-hmm. You saw that movie, right? It's relatable. I'm not a Afro-Latino kid growing up in the city, but he's a regular kid going through things where I'm just like, I can understand this. And I think about these movies that do really bad, like The Last Jedi. Think about sitting around with your friends, male and female, black and white, Asian, Mexican, whatever, Latino, and you're like, I don't know anybody who acts like that. Like, the men in, like, the dudes I hang out with aren't bumbling morons who hate women.
Yeah.
Dude, I've had
exactly.
I've had an SJW like that I worked with ask me how many of my male friends are okay with rape. They think this way. Then they make movies based off of these psychotic assumptions. Yeah. Like, have you ever met a man and like hung out with them? It's like, I'm sitting here, I'm a dude, I'm in front of you. What makes you think I would feel that's so? That's insane to ask.
Yep.
But they read these things online, they read these garbage articles, they get these lectures, and then they create this worldview that doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like when we're talking about propaganda earlier with like Antifa, they live in this world that's been manufactured. It's almost like, imagine if people were running around with Harry Potter robes and flicking wands at people, screaming Voldemort was coming.
Yep.
That's the same thing as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, because that's their ideology, and they've bought into the lie that Donald Trump is the leader of the oncoming Fourth Reich. Like, so people, no, I want people to understand, like, these people honestly believe. They honestly believe.
I do believe they truly believe it.
They do believe that they're fascists. They believe Donald Trump is a fascist. They believe the Fourth Reich is coming. This is why they do what they do. So they're always on the offense. They're always on the offense because of that. And that's why they do what they do. And people need to understand, like, why, you know, like you described earlier, why, what do you mean they'll just run up to someone, accuse them to be a Nazi and just beat them up? Because their ideology has trained them to believe that there's an enemy out there that wants to put them in gulags. There's an enemy out there that
they
want
to do the gulags.
Put them in
Not us.
concentration. Exactly.
They're projecting on that
they
one.
They are history, right? Stalin. Whenever communists would subvert another country, when they would target another country, who would the communists pose as in that country? Anti-fascists.
Right.
And they would do that. They would claim to be the very thing that they are defending against. Or they are trying to produce.
I'm not a historian, but I was reading an article on the internet, which, you know, makes me an expert, essentially. Yeah. You're familiar with the fascists? Mm-hmm. You know what it is? Can you describe it?
Like what? Like
the fascists, like what it is. The little I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm trying to make a point by highlighting things. But I'll just throw it to you.
Yeah, I know what it is.
Can you explain? You want to describe it?
Fasces,
whatever it
is like a bundle of sticks, and they're considered stronger when they're together, I guess, or something.
So I was reading an article about the symbolism, and so the fascist is it's a bunch of it's a weapon with like a axe blade and a bunch of sticks strapped together. All of those together make it strong. And do you know what the revolution fist is? Do you know why they hold it forward so you can see it? They don't raise their fist like this to you. They turn their fist like that, so you can see the fingers together make a strong fist. It's very, very similar. It's an authoritarian collectivist symbol. So I'll tell you, when I see people walking up to patrons at a diner and they're all raising the fist into their faces and screaming, "Salute us," I'll tell you what that reminds me of. And it's not going to make me think Trump is the fascist.
Yeah, it's not good.
No, that's the lie. They're posing. They are posing as to what they're going to implement, and they accuse their enemy as being who they are, so you don't see it coming.
And that is straight out of Alinsky, right? Yeah.
Have you seen the book In Defense of Looting? Mm-mm. Back during Ferguson, when they were looting all the stores and you know, burning everything down. Somebody wrote an article because there was a lot of press coming out saying all this looting and rioting and destruction is bad, especially in a community like Ferguson, that it's a black community, and part of it, not all of it, some part of Ferguson was actually really, really wealthy, but it was impoverished black homes. By burning and destroying it down, there was the obvious criticism. You're actually hurting the black community. Wow. So some far leftists wrote an article called In Defense of Looting. And they said that it was, you know, stealing back from the oppressors and all this other garbage nonsense. It wasn't true because the locals hated the looting, and they were like, "You burned down our hair supply store." Like there was a salon and like a hair supply where people would go to get things for their hair, to get their hair done and stuff. They burned it down, and then you hear the next lie is, but they have insurance, and the insurance does not cover this stuff. In in the Twin Cities, there's a story coming out now where apparently insurance only covers up to $25,000 of rubble removal, and the total cost was like $140K for some buildings. So they're out. They can't afford to pay $115K back for the removal, so they're just done. They walk away.
It makes sense. Like from a Marxist standpoint, you know, if you believe that capitalism is evil, if you believe that the free market is evil, if you believe that private property is like an abomination to humanity, it makes sense to me that you have a bunch of people out here that are willing to torch buildings in the name of their ideology. So to me, it just makes total sense.
Yeah, any building. Doesn't matter whose.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't. To me, if I try and think like that, I'm like, dude, if I'm a Marxist and I don't believe any of that, then I think that it's evil, then it makes total sense that these people are running around burning anything they can get their hands on.
So if these people are all crazy, violent, you get scared when you go down there and you know that you're going to, but let me get specific, not just cover this, but you've actually ridden in vehicles with them. You've actually hung out with them.
Yep, I've been physically assaulted. They tried to rip my mask off, rip my helmet off. I'm more worried about the mentally ill people that are out there. They are out there. There's people that are mentally ill. They're mentally unstable. You can see it, you can hear it, and you could hear them making threats to the police too. Like they'll be like, I have a knife and I'm not afraid to use it. I have a knife and I'm not afraid to use it. The unpredictable aspect of that is what worries me the most. The strategic stuff, I have intel. I know how they move. I know how they work. I've been briefed on certain things, but it's the unpredictable people that's dangerous, because someone could just come out of nowhere and not even think things through. Like there's not even a reason. Like you said earlier, they come up, they could stab you, they could shoot you. That's kind of what is got me looking on my six when I'm out there.
I mean, like the dude in Portland doesn't seem to be all with it. Like the guy who killed that Trump supporter, like easily manipulated, unwell. You take some of these people who have built this worldview where they're screaming Nazi all over, like, and you can easily manipulate them and doing whatever you want. Yeah. This is it. It's the only way. He's the one right here. Yeah.
Useful
bang, bang.
idiots. Useful idiots.
I mean, but it's beyond idiot. Like a useful idiot. You get some guy who doesn't realize that the railroad he's building is going to be used for concentration camps or something.
Exactly.
So,
but these people are usefully mentally ill to the far left. Yeah.
So an example of a useful idiot is something that Andy called out earlier today, and I was like, he's dropping some serious shade, because there was a journalist who was sitting there in Portland. He was like, look, this whole city's on fire, and there's like people walking by in the park. I was like, okay, first of all, so that's Trump's America? Is this what we're referring to again? Just checking. But Andy made the point that Antifa is depending on people who are useful idiots, like this guy. So he's not someone who's actively engaged. He's just running, he's running interference for them. He's covering for them.
Yep. He hears his friends in the office saying Antifa's not that bad, and then he laughs and says, oh, look at this, it's a park. And when I saw a lot of these posts are going around where they're like, they claim Portland is burning, but like I'm here eating a cheeseburger and everything's okay. That's how it is in most conflict. Yeah. Like you realize, like, you're not going to walk into a civil unrest, urban conflict, or civil war and people just are all dead. Like, I'm sure there's places where that's happened. A bomb gets dropped or something. But if you realize people have to keep eating. Yep. So they have to keep working, and food has to keep shipping, and it means trucks are still driving, and it means one of the craziest things about this narrative too is during the height of the Syrian civil war, the Syrian tourism board was still advertising for nightlife in Damascus.
Wow.
We were trying to do it. It was back when I was at Vice. We were trying to do a documentary on it, and I guess they said it was in poor taste or something. And I was like, dude, it's not about going and partying and laughing at the misery. It's going there and showing that there are people partying on rooftops with like music and like miles away, it's explosions and like sarin gas attacks. Like, it's an example of how life goes on. Now, people are scared, people are worried, there are checkpoints, there's terrorists, all this stuff is happening, but they're still dancing to like that Hot Club remix, But these useful idiots.
Well, because there's people that want nothing to do with it.
Right.
Like in Portland, there are people that want nothing to do with this. They're not interested in politics. They just want to be successful, live the American dream, put someone in office that's going to protect them and help them thrive and their babies and their future. And these are the people, like you said, that want to continue on to live their lives. And it's just our political arena right now is like you're like forced to get involved because there's death threats being made. The country's on the line, the Constitution's on the line. There's so much freedom and liberty that's on the line right now. And even people that are traditional liberals, people that have been on the left, they're identifying it's not the right. It's not the right that has it right. This is about good and evil now. This is about truth and lies. And this is about making sure that our constitutional freedoms are intact, because if they're not, we have no future. We have no future if this all falls and burns.
You know what I think it is?
Or tonight.
The people who are aligned with like Antifa on the left and the people who would vote for Joe Biden, they think, first of all, they have no idea what's really going on. Because I think if any of them spent any amount of time researching, watching videos, and watching a Trump speech, they'd be like, hey, wait a minute. That wasn't true. Yep. And that would change their view. All they know is things are scary and they're being threatened. And so they've built this worldview. But if they change that, it'll take a lot of work and it'll increase their risk. And they don't want to do that. That's why you have that bug-eyed woman screaming at the black woman about how she's the only one who can stop racism or whatever. It's I guess it's almost hysterical. It's like a hysteria among many of these people.
Yeah.
So you get the average person who's watched a YouTube video, who reads the news, and they're going to have a more moderate view of things. That's one thing we talk about, like why I'm hopeful having so many people watch shows like this and listening to me, because I'm just kind of like, I think the whole thing is, dude, chill. I think Flecka's. He had a great line way back when that's like stuck with me. Trump's not that bad. He's like asking people like, hey, Trump's kind of bad, right? And they're like, yeah, but he's not that bad, right? Yeah. And then people would laugh and be like, yeah, he's not that bad. I'm like, that's an amazing line to explain to people. Chill, dude. Yeah. Trump isn't dropping nukes. He's not. There's no camps. Like, this stuff's made up. Or if it did exist, it was like Obama was doing these things too, and we need to reform this stuff. But Trump is not the boogeyman. They think he is.
But that's why I told you earlier, Tim. I don't think you realize what you mean to people.
Oh yeah.
Because you're so in the middle, where people can relate to you on so many levels. But what's important about that, Tim, is you're like Anakin Skywalker, bro.
I'm like Darth Vader now.
You're gonna bring balance to the Force.
That's not a good thing,
But you just got to make sure that you don't go towards the dark side.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm not saying you are Anakin. I said you're like Anakin, right? And I'm being serious. I'm being dead serious right now. In the culture, what you mean right now, what this show means right now, is to bring balance to everyone.
You're saying all I got to do is kill a bunch of kids and I'll get supreme power?
Oh, they're going to cut that up. That's headline news, bro. Already. That's headline news.
Oh, please, it's a Star Wars.
Don't slaughter the Padawans, Tim.
That's right. Come on, Tim.
Okay, don't slaughter the Padawans.
I will not let
Be what Anakin was meant to be, Tim.
No, Anakin was meant to destroy the Jedi.
Yeah.
That what was it? Don't they say this in the Revenge of the Sith, that perhaps they misread the prophecy? He was going to bring balance to the Force by getting rid of almost every Jedi.
He's in the middle.
Oh,
no, because there were only 2 Sith and there were thousands of Jedi. Balance meant
the rule of 2.
Yeah, balance meant you can't create more Sith. You can only get rid of Jedi.
Yep.
And he did. Well, the Emperor did.
Yep.
So let me ask you, man. You're riding in a car with these Antifa people. What is it like? Are they normal people? Are they like, you want Taco Bell, bro? And you're like, yeah, let me get a number 2. Or are they screaming like, when we get to Taco Bell, man, I'm going to punch Trump. Oh, man.
They're very calm and collective before they're going to go and riot.
Yeah.
When I was in the car, they're like, you good, bro? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. They're like, where's everyone at? I'm like, oh, they're over on that other street. Like, all right, let's go. And they're just very calm. They're very collected. But whenever they see police, it's like
their brains break.
Just like, they go like Super Saiyan 3, like literally Super Saiyan 3.
How many people get that reference?
I'm sure
Tim does.
I'm sure thousands of people get that reference, dude. Like, they completely change.
Their hair grows. Turns gold like yours.
It turns gold. And, I'm sorry to my viewers about the gold hair. There's a reason for it. I can't tell you why, okay?
But
it's a secret.
You're going Super Saiyan.
Right?
It's a whole thing.
But they do. They do. They literally just change. They change into these crazy people because they're emboldened when they're in groups and they see police officers and it just sets them off. And it's like they have like these, they like have orgasms, dude. Like when they see it and when they're ready to just go in on it, that's what they do. Like they just love it too much.
It gives them a sense of purpose.
Yeah.
I've talked about this before. I have a segment about it.
This is why they want to kill me, dude. The stuff I'm telling you guys tonight is like
all these state secrets.
It's totally true, but I'm saying it in a way that's comical. But you guys need to take it serious too, because there's a reason why they're investigated. There's a reason. They are dangerous.
I mean, yeah. Look, we got Commander Red curling in the fetal position and crying when he gets arrested. Why are they releasing his flame? Yeah.
Yeah, even though he had a flamethrower.
I'll tell you, man, it's funny. We laughed at this Commander Red guy, but they let him go.
Yeah.
They're like, he jumped bail. Let's bail him out again.
Cool.
How does and for a lower number? No wonder this stuff keeps happening. Do you see what they just did with the state police in Oregon? They deputized them federally.
Wow.
You know what that means? Wow. You get arrested by a state trooper in Oregon, it goes to the federal attorneys.
There you go.
You're getting locked up.
Yeah.
Dude, people don't realize this, man.
See, but that's the thing is we've gotten so far away in our culture from consequence and accountability, right? Where people, when they don't see consequence, they're not held accountable. If they know that there will be no consequence to any kind of action, right? Whether it's digital, whether it's in the real world, whatever it is, that emboldens me to go and do something. Because if I'm Antifa, I'm living in my mom's basement, right? And I'm collecting those Trump stimulus checks. That's probably what's like funding a lot of these guys. If I'm living like that and I'm now emboldened, if I go out there and I could throw a Molotov cocktail at a courthouse and I'm going to get a slap on the wrist, they'll probably let me out within the next 2 hours.
Yep.
I'm going to keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
They're bored. There's no purpose anymore, right? Think about the European colonists who were all like, yo, let's get on this boat and then spend 3 months at sea where a good portion of people will die and we'll just get chucked overboard. And then when we finally make it to that shore, there's nothing there. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, and they high five and they bring their families. Yeah. I'm like, wow.
People are crazy.
It's crazy. The amount of risk, dude, you're going to die. Dude, you know what's crazy to me is I was reading when I was at Glenn Beck's studio. He has these really old newspapers mounted on the wall, and one of them talks about how there's a guy who was outside of a bar, like a cigar bar or something, and some random dude walked up, put a gun in his chest, and pulled the trigger. Wow. And I just like for no reason, it was like an old story from the 1800s, and I'm like, a lot of these things still kind of happen today, especially in Chicago, like random shootings. But when I look back, a lot of this old stuff, man, people were really willy-nilly with their lives. Like for me, I'm very much like, I've grown quite fond of living. I'd like to make sure that carries on. But I read these stories about people who are like, we're going to get on this boat. We're going to be gone for 3 months, likely starve or die of dehydration, maybe get scurvy. And then those of us that make it have nothing but harsh realities of no food. That was like, people did it. Mm-hmm. And they came to the North America. Some people did bad stuff. A lot of people did bad stuff. And then they started building things. Today, nobody wants to do that. Yeah. So these Antifa types have no purpose. Yeah. In their minds, they have this vision. Here's what I imagine. It's, imagine, 100 years. Here's what people don't realize about the colonial era, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. 1492, Columbus sails the ocean blue. It was hundreds of years of settlement in North America. It was a really, really, really long time before there was the American Revolution and, this country was formed. Yep. But I have to imagine there's somebody sitting in London in like 16 something or maybe like early 1700s being like, man, this image of making it across the ocean, it's a dangerous journey, it's difficult, it's expensive, and you're going to be an indentured servant. You're imagining this great open world of endless freedom and discovery, just swaths of land, and people haven't even made it to the other side of the continent yet. Mm-hmm. You're like, all this discovery waiting there for me. It's a beautiful utopian view of adventure and life and opportunity. And so they take that risk. Yeah. They get on that boat. They make it. Today, you've got a bunch of Antifa sitting in their mom's basements, and I'm purposely being, disrespectful, and they're imagining in their heads that great journey is tearing down the government and creating the communist utopia. Yep. But there is no country to go to. There is no communist utopia. Mm-hmm. It's almost like you get somebody sitting in there, in the 1700s in London, being like, I want to make it to Atlantis. You're like, bro, if you get on that boat looking for Atlantis, you're gonna die because there's no Atlantis. Yeah. And then who knows where you'll end up. Mm-hmm. You know what ends up happening? You get on a boat right now looking for Atlantis, you're gonna run out of food, and you're gonna end up on some, if you get lucky enough, on a deserted island, running out of resources, and life's gonna suck. Mm-hmm. That's what the far left is doing. Yeah. They think they're driving us towards the great lost city of Atlantis, this beautiful utopia. Instead, they're driving everything into a crater where we're all going to suffer.
Yeah, and that's history repeating itself.
Yeah.
Because it's happened once, it's happened twice, it's happened multiple times in history. But right now what's different is the United States of America and our constitutional republic is being used against itself.
It is.
Very, very strategically and very, very successfully. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people will say, well, it's my First Amendment right to, stand outside and call for, the murder of Trump supporters. That's where we're going right now.
And it's not.
And it's not, but that's where we are right now.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. So come back to check us out when we go live. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, and we are also available on all podcast platforms for free if you want to listen to us there. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all next time.